a couple minutes to, or a minute now to 1 o'clock. So hopefully you all had a great weekend. Today for our webinar, first primary focus is actually going to be on importing leads. So a lot of us have gotten questions through trainings and what have you. You have existing databases, or those databases are either in your contacts or wherever they may be, that you want to be able to import them into your Agent Locator CRM system. So today we're going to go over just that. I have created a dummy document in the Excel, or not Excel, but the Google Sheets that I will share with you guys. So you can kind of use it as a starting point even, and then it is really quite simple. So it won't likely take too long to get through the whole importing process, so we can then focus on some questions that some of you may have directly related to that, or maybe you have questions outside of that integration and how-tos and so on. So for this, let me just share my screen here with you guys. Share that with you here. I am actually going to stop my video and I'm going to go on this page here. You guys can just fully see the CRM itself. So have any of you in here, you guys can all hear me okay? Have you guys, any of you done an import before? Is this all new to you, or do you have leads that you're going to want to import in here? It's Monday, I'll let you be quiet. So it is quite simple in here. Oh, we got one person chatting here. Let's see, you're new. Okay, perfect. So what I've done is I've created an Excel sheet, or not Excel, but through Google Docs or Google Sheets, essentially. So you can download these sheets, and I am going to kind of leave this to you guys as far as, I'll put the link in here. I do plan on creating a document, again, with a video, with a sheet, and really making it easier for you guys. The actual import process is very simple. It is more or less when you have a database, and some of you have hundreds or thousands of leads, essentially, that you need to import, and it's organizing that sheet that is most painful. And just depending on where you're getting them. Some sheets have like so many different columns with so many different things, you don't even know what to do with it. So if you do have a really, really large database, what I would do is just kind of break that sheet into like smaller, more manageable imports, rather than trying to sit there through a list of, 1,000 contacts and going through it all. Now, we do have a Zendesk article indicating what you can import. So for those of you that don't know, at the bottom of the right-hand corner of your CRM system, there is this question mark right here. Now, you can type anything you want. It's connected to the Zendesk. So let's just say I'm going to go import. That's a keyword. What it does is it's basically going to pull all of the articles that either have that as a keyword or have it included in them. So in this case, this is the one I'm going to be using, this have a list of contacts you want to import into the system. This is hard to read, so you can definitely push this little button right here, and it's going to open up a new tab with that article in our Zendesk. So when it comes to the actual CSV file, or if you're using the sheets in Google, these are the things that we're able to import. So I did do an import today to kind of run through a couple of them. I didn't throw all of them in the import, just because I do the most common ones that you're probably going to want to import over. But this list is here, of course, if you have a full kind of database, seeing what you're able to actually import over. So in the sheet that I did create, I did have the different titles created. So the first name, last name, pretty straightforward. When you're on import, it is phone. There is two different options when you're at import screen, which you'll see. There is a work phone and home phone option. So if you wanted to include that as well, that's more or less an alternate phone. Email, of course. Then you have the lead type. So if the lead type, when at import, if it's not in our system, it'll actually create it. Same with the source. So the source will also be created at the time of import if it doesn't actually exist yet. You can throw in all your notes. So I comma separated them. This is just a funny spoof, like Willy Wonka, so he likes chocolate, that sort of thing. So it was comma separated. Again, at import, it's going to ask you. If you don't have it comma separated, that is okay. It's just going to throw it in as one big note. That's all that's going to happen. So it's not a huge deal if you don't have the commas in your notes. The description, this goes right under the search, so we'll kind of go over that. You can throw a tag on these leads as well, or a label if they're coming from an alternate CRM system. So you can definitely have different tags. They'll automatically create that tag at import. You can also create a specific tag at import to be applied to all of the leads. Now, when it comes to the address, city, province, postal, this is their address, okay? So if you're ever wanting to print out the labels, it has to do with their address that they currently reside. When I did try to import the birthday, one thing that I noticed is it didn't automatically throw it in the birthday field. So put it in the notes. If you have a birthday, just put that in the notes because you can add that birthday in the actual birthday field. You have the spot for the buying timeline, selling timeline, their buying city, buying area. And it doesn't have to be actual communities, board communities, just so you are aware. It could be whatever you want to call it. Buying property, and then buying beds, baths, their price point. Again, this is going into these all are going into a field where it's just text related. So how you spell it, the formatting does not matter. You then have the same for the selling. So selling bathroom, bedrooms, city, and then it didn't give me enough room. Wouldn't allow me to keep adding for some reason. Probably can, just didn't bother with it. So you can put things with like selling basement, selling address, selling property condition, property type, selling timeline. So all those things you can also add in should you care to do so. So I'm actually going to take this off just so that we can complete this form. And let me just add it into a different, actually, no, you know what? I need to take it somewhere else. Sheet 1. And I need to remove it out of here. So delete. Why won't you allow me to delete it? Delete. There we go. All right, so those are deleted. I'm just going to put them somewhere else so I don't forget to put them back in. So let's just start off at import. Again, this would be a list that you would probably get from somewhere. Now, we'll just kind of complete this. Actually, you know what? We'll just leave these ones here because there's no point in changing anything. I'm just going to change the phone number by 1 digit, and the email address has to be different because our system will skip over it if it has the same email address. Because even at import, just so you guys know, the system will recognize duplicates based on email addresses, okay? The home buyer there, let's change this one to home seller. And the source of this lead is monkeys, is what I put. We can leave that notes. I'll make some new notes. Hey, his birthday is January 2nd. There's a note, description. So the description is kind of more or less the description of the lead. These are typically things that you're probably going to reference every time you look at that specific lead. So a description could be, you know, first-time buyer, no, you know, not approved, let's say, living at home, comma, relocating from, let's just say, Ottawa. Okay, and then there's a tag that's going to automatically go on, so this tag is going to automatically be created. I can create multiple tags as well, so it's not just one tag. So again, the system will ask you what's the differentiator. So it's either a comma, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to go, let's create one that says money. This is their address, the city, location, postal. Again, this is their address there. The birthday, if I wanted to put the birthday, I'm going to put it in the notes. I didn't do it this Oh, I put it in that note section, so I did. I'm going to actually remove that so that it's not there. The buying timeline is there, selling timeline is there, and then the buying area, so waterfront, or downtown. I'm going to add this, just changing it off a little bit. Condo or town, and let's go 2, and you can leave the price. Now this part I didn't do, so I'm just going to do selling bathrooms is, let's say 3, bedrooms is 4, selling city is Toronto, selling basement is finished. I'm just going to put that. Now there was those other fields, same idea, it'll just be data. You write it however you want to do it. Now, if you are using this sheet, you will need to download it to your computer. If it's already something on your computer, you're obviously just saving it. So I am going to just rename this so that I know for sure, and then I'm going to actually download this. And so if you are using the Google Sheets, it will allow you the different formats. In this case, I am going to actually download it as, I'm just going to delete this just in case it causes me issues. But I am going to download it as an XLS file. Perfect. So now that I've got that, it's most likely downloaded to my computer, and we're going to go back into the CRM system. So when you're in the CRM here, what you're going to do is you're going to head on over to the section here, the settings tab with the gear, and you're going to go to lead import. Now this is super straightforward. When it comes in here, it's not difficult at all. If you guys do run into issues though, just let us know, of course. So what you're going to do here is you're going to go new lead import, and then you're going to select that file. So we're going to browse my computer. I got to find that file on my computer, wherever it may be. And it's this one right here, and I'm going to open it. Now, you can see that it's verified. If for some reason it's not accepting it, you may need to try saving it if it's in the wrong kind of format. Again, if you're having issues with that, contact our support team. They will help you identify those issues and get it working for you. Now, if you recall, in this sheet that I didn't have actual headers. So some of you guys are very proficient in your Excels, and you know how to do this, and you know how to do that. The average consumer and user does not know how to use it. So there is no headers on here. So that's the most common scenario for those who are importing. So what you're going to want to do is go to the advanced settings, and then you're going to go no header role. Okay, so there's just no header in that document. The system now knows that. And then we're going to click next. Now, this is the part where you're mapping everything into the CRM system. So you're basically taking those fields and those columns from that Excel sheet and then telling it in the CRM system, where does that information belong? So the first one here, and it will give you examples. So in this case, we only have one lead, but it will give you a couple different, so you can kind of see the consistency or the pattern there. So in this case, it's first name. You can start typing first name, just so you are aware. And then we've got the last name. We're going to select that. We've got the phone. So you can see here there's 3 options for phone. In this case, we're looking for the phone number. We're not doing the home phone. We're not doing the work phone. These would be alternate numbers for your leads. You're going to use the phone. This will set it as the primary contact number. You then have the email. And then you have your lead type here. So we're going to do your lead type. And then the source. This is the source of the lead. And then we have the notes. So we're going to put that in the notes section. And then that, whoops, this is the description. So you see in the note here, the default separator, it says comma. We're going to put comma there. So if it's a colon or a semicolon or what have you, you're going to put that there. You're telling the system what's separating each aspect from the next aspect. You're then having this description here. So you're going to see here the default separator is comma. I did use a comma there. So again, I'm going to put comma in there. And then we have his address, the city. This is not the buying city. This is the city, just so you guys are aware. You then have the province. This would be the same if it's a state. So anyone from the United States that's watching this, it would be the same as your state for province. And then we have the postal code. The birthday, again, it wasn't set. We're just going to leave it. We're going to skip over that, and that is A-OK. The system will tell you there's all these fields that aren't going to be mapped, which you will see. It says unmapped columns will not be imported. So if you don't map a specific column and there's nothing in that column, it's not going to move. There's nowhere for that stuff to go. You then have your buying timeline. And I'm going to scroll down here. So buying. I got to go down, down, down. Timeline, selling, timeline. And then we have the buying city. So buying areas is not buying city. That would be the community. Okay, so the buying area, this would be if they're looking in specific neighborhoods. Property type. So this is useful to you guys if you have a database that's somewhere else that's maybe receiving listings somewhere else or what have you, and instead of having to refer to two systems to see, you can actually pull it in. The notes will be under the lead with tool review. You'll then have the buying property type. So as you see, as we're starting to add in here, once you use a certain field, you can't use it again. So they're basically becoming non-selectable. So as we're using them, they kind of disappear as an option for additional fields. So I'm just kind of going through the buying price range, and then we're going to go selling. These are the, come on, bathrooms, bedrooms, and selling city and selling basement. There we go. So once you've mapped out all your columns, and again, if you don't have anything to set, just don't worry about mapping it out. It's just going to skip right over that section. And then you're just going to select on next. Now, if you guys are running lead generation and you have the automated platform, you can actually set these people up with an account on import. If you don't have lead gen, then obviously this isn't an option. But many of you do, and you want to get your leads, you know, essentially with an account. So if you turn a yes, it's gonna ask you which website. If you have more than one lead gen site, most of you would only have one. Some of you might have more. You're gonna select that source of where the listings are coming, and then the notification, which is the standard activation email. Now, you can change the title of all of this. So this is the subject of that email. And then you can actually go in and if you wanted to, edit this email. Okay, so do not change anything of what's here. This is all going to be their login information, your website name, a link that's actually connected so they can validate their email. So do not touch anything that's already there, or modify it, I should say, but you can definitely add to it. So if, you know, you can change it so it doesn't say thank you for registering, you can change it to say something else. And then of course you can add more contact below that as well. So you can kind of add to this email if you see fit. You're going to have the same editing capabilities as you would with any other email that you have, or creation of an email template in the system. So once you've kind of gone through there, you're going to just click on next, and you can, actually I'm going to go back. Yes, I want to do that. Okay, never mind. That is correct. You're then going to have the option of who these leads are going to be assigned to. So some of you, it's just you. Some of you may be doing an import for a team member and so on. So you can actually do it through main assigned through lead sharing, which means that it would just be through the same lead sharing rules that you have set up, or you can assign it to a specific individual within your system. So once you go through that, you're just going to select on next. Now, this is where you can also create tags for your leads. So if you have a tag already created, for example, you can select another tag that's already on here, or you can create a new tag. So I'm just going to go new tag in here so you guys can see. same setup rules as far as creating those tags in here. So you can create it right on the spot so that you can select it. And it'll always come selected once you've added that tag in here. And then you're going to go next. So once you've done that, we're just going to go next. You can add specific notes. This is a custom note on import for yourself if you want to add something, so you can save it, so you can see that there is there. So you can add multiple notes if you want to. Edit that note, delete that note if you don't want it there, you made a mistake. And then you're going to go next. Now you can also have it so that these leads on import are automatically added to a specific drip campaign that you already have created. So if you're, let's say importing a list of seller leads that you had somewhere in another database, maybe you went through and you created a campaign specifically for seller leads, you can definitely do that. So you can select that, you can go assign, so you select it and then hit assign. It's going to automatically set them up on that campaign. You're not limited to one campaign either, so you can actually select them to, multiple campaigns depending on what the, what the purpose would be. So again, once you're done that, if you do that, you're going to go next. Now it is going to give you a preview, kind of verifying there is one unmapped column. We know that there's no one map. There is one column that wasn't. It's giving you that little notification email, that activation email. They're going to get that, and then they're going to be set up with this specific tag, with this specific note, and they're going to be assigned to this campaign. So once all that looks good, you're just going to go import. Now, don't sweat it if you make a mistake, because you can delete all those leads and start all over again if you really had to. So if something totally gets mixed up and you're like, oh my gosh, this didn't go as planned, then yeah, you don't sweat it. Those leads, you can swipe them all out of there and re-import them. So once it is going through, it is going to basically kind of tell you if it's completed its progress. So right now it's in the queue. It hasn't completed that import yet. We can see if we can get it to refresh and do that for us while we're on here. So now it's pre-processing. And a lot of this and how long this will take will depend on how many leads it is actually importing. So if you have a lot of leads to import, it will take a little longer than something that, I've got like a lead to import, so to speak. So it's still importing those. Let's go to the home page and see if we got anything showing up yet. Perfect. So we have the lead here. So this was the original lead that I had created, of course. And this is the other one. So we changed the email to .ca instead of .com, and I adjusted the phone number just in case that was going to cause an issue. So we can see right away that this person has those tags. So we had that chocolate tag and then comma separated with another tag that said money. So these were automatically applied to the lead at import. And then on one of the final import screens, we had the new tag that was created at import. We do have a question. Yeah, so Navita is asking, will this detect duplicate contacts and not import duplicate, if any? Yes, so it's going to recognize based on the email addresses. So if your leads have the same email addresses, it will not, import. It will not import a duplicate lead in there. You're going to see here, we have the lead type of home seller on this lead. This was the source of the lead, monkeys. And then we're going to see here that, that one email has already gone out. So let's open up the lead to see where all that additional information is on the lead. So in the notes and call section, remember how I had his birthday's January 2nd. I put this as a custom note. That was the one I created at the end of the day, or at the end of the import. So those are the notes I created. Now, the reason why I put January, obviously a year would probably be important, but January 2nd is because if I put in his actual birthday in that birthday field, it wasn't importing over. So what you could do with that information is then where you have the date of birth, you put that in there, right? So we know that this is January 2nd in here. Does the year matter? I guess if you really want to know how old your clients are, you probably do have their birth date because you would have seen their proof of identification that indicates their birthday in there. So those are those notes. Where that lead description went on there, so where I put that in, again, these are similar to notes, but these are notes that you may need to reference every single time. Right? So these are the important notes. They're not going to get pushed down in this notes and call section. So some of you may have leads that you're importing that have been around in your database for a long time, and there's like just a slew of notes in there, and you're throwing them all over, which is great. The description is more or less highlighting those things that are very important about all those call notes and any other notes that you may have made in the system there. So when we go to the lead data here, we're able to see all of these other things as well. So we do have the source, and the lead type is right here as well. If we had filled out the home phone on there, the work phone, that would show up down here for you guys, just so you are aware. Now, the buying in and selling in, they actually go into another field, but you can move it over. So if we go into the buyer section here, we're going to see all that information that I put. So they were looking in the city of Toronto, waterfront or downtown is what I put, condo or town, the price range was same, bedrooms 2 and 2. And then there's the planning to buy is 0 to 3 months. So it comes in as a note right there. You can definitely go right here and change that right there. And then the same for the seller info as well. So we had the city. We didn't add much more to that because there wasn't enough fields in my Excel sheet. So the Toronto, we did the bedrooms, bathrooms, and then we had the basement. And then the planning to sell was now. So that's right here. And then, of course, back on this lead data, we can go planning to sell now with that there. So all of that pulls over, again, the more details, that's their address, where they enter that in. So when you're putting in your Excel sheet, and we'll just pull it up here, the address, which is right here, it's not saying buying address, it's not saying selling address, it is just simply address. That is referring to their address. And the reason why we have an address and then a selling address is, again, some of you may have investors, so the property that they're selling isn't necessarily their residential address as well. So all of that is in there. The buying info we kind of went over, and then again the seller info. So as you pull all this information in, it will throw in. So here it's just text format. So in the Excel sheet itself, it's all just, however you want it to be displayed in there. It's for your reference at the end of the day. Now, if we go up to the emails here, we're going to be able to see that this email was essentially created. So this is, I edited. Why did it do that? Well, that's just weird. I'm not sure why I did that. So last imported did not do this, and this is the joys of doing something live. So I'm not sure why this actually modified that. So I'm going to have to look as to why that did that, to be 100% honest with you. And we should have it to an email campaign. So we can see here that this person was set up to be on an email campaign or campaigns automatically. So we can see that those have been set up in there. Let's just, actually doesn't matter, it's a bad email, it doesn't really matter. On the previous import, the email, so we'll look at that one showed up properly. So I'm not sure, I'm going to have to look with our support team what happened with that email that it made it show differently, needless to say. So this is the email that they would get essentially with regard to everything with your information and so on at the time of registering or importing, I should say. So that is really it with respect to the import. Now, do you guys have any questions on import? I know a lot of you guys do have databases that you want imported. Needless to say, is there any questions that I can assist you with regard to that on if you have certain fields? Because if you are exporting from an alternate CRM system, those fields are often different, right? So they have different titles, and sometimes there's a whole bunch of them. I just worked on one where it was just, there were so many different columns of like things that I don't even think were necessary to have as columns or features, but they were there. So it can be work where you're having to delete a column, delete a column, delete a column, delete a column. It's not a big idea, big deal. It's more or less for you when you're looking at it. It's just easier to understand. So Navita's asking, how about importing contacts from another website? So Navita, are you referring to feeding leads from another website into the CRM system, or they're leads that you've already gathered or contacts you've already gathered from another website that you're looking to import into the CRM? Import. Yeah, so you can definitely import them. So you would have those leads somewhere, right? So if whatever your other website is, if there's somewhere where they're typically keeping those leads, essentially, you're going to export that out of their system. So when you export it out of their system, that's what's going to produce you that CSV file or the XLS file that you can then start modifying the column titles and rearranging things if you have to be able to do that. So yes, you're going to export that as a CSV file, Navita, and then you can import it in here. Is basically what you're going to do with that. So that's a pretty, like a lot of you guys do have that as well. Now, some of you may have other websites in addition to Agent Locator that you may want to be importing those leads at the time of registration into the Agent Locator CRM system. So basically, our CRM does have a parsing email. Some CRMs do have that, some don't. And so parsing email is just a unique email name for an email that's directly associated with an account in here. There's nothing crazy cool about it. In your system, you all have that feed leads by email. This right here, every single one of you, when you go up to your user profile and you go to your preferences, right here where all your basic information is, you're going to be able to see that right here. So basically, if you have an alternate provider that you get leads from, some of you have multiple websites all over the place, you would CC this email. So for the new lead notification, so whatever that company, whatever they do, and they notify you, usually by email, that you've got a lead, you're going to CC this email on new lead alerts. And that will and should feed that lead directly into your Agent Locator CRM system. If it doesn't, then we'll have to look at it and or use Zapier, and then you can zap them in. The CCing is typically faster. Zap can take a little bit of time to do that. You totally. Are you guys still in here? So Navita, you're sorry. My system basically said I've been signed out. And I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get kicked off of this webinar. Because sometimes that happens. Somebody else does it. And yeah, so I'm glad you're all here. So there was something else with regard to whatever. Someone's doing something. But yeah, and I have a feeling I know what it is. But yeah, if you guys, is there any more, let's see if there's any more questions that you guys have with respect to the CRM at all. Like anything, it doesn't even have to be on import. It could be anything. So Navita's asking, how do we export from here? So good question. In the new CRM system, we do not have the direct functionality at this very moment to directly export from here. So you would actually have to go through your legacy CRM system to do that. So for those of you who have a branded website, you could enter the legacy simply just by clicking on this. Okay, that's going to bring you into the branded or so the legacy CRM system. some of you, and I'm not 100% sure, you may be able to click on Street Match if you don't have a branded website as well, because it probably will bring you into the legacy CRM and telling you that you don't have this service. But one thing, if you don't have a branded website, you just go to crm.agentlocator.ca and you're going to log in this way. Same login details as the current CRM system. And then you just go in. So it's just crm.agentlocator.ca. And then if you have a branded website, again, you're just going to click on here to get in there. So what you're going to do is once you're in here, you're going to go into the settings and you're just going to click on export. It's pretty straightforward. You can export certain leads as well, so you can tell the system, I only want my leads that are home buyers, for example. And then maybe you have different statuses or any specific leads with a specific tag on them. But basically, you filter them out. It's going to be all just right here in this sheet. So this here, you just copy this. Copy the whole thing, so Control-All, and just copy and paste it into an Excel sheet. It's pretty straightforward how to do it. If you all forget how to do it, it's not something that we do, very often, or it's a common thing that we do. So if you ever run yourself into any kind of issue, just let me know or email support. Support will most definitely be able to get you those leads there. So Leslie is asking, can we make our own categories, beds, /bath, or house anniversaries? So the house anniversary, so Leslie, no, you cannot make your own categories. So these are the ones that we can import. Now, if you have that, so for example, if you have well, the beds and baths, those are something that you can import anyway. But if it was like their home anniversary, you're going to put that either in the notes section as included in the notes or in the description so that it will move over. You just add that in afterwards. So Bruce is asking, can you set buyer leads onto Street Match if it's the same email? And can you do any of the 3 types of Street Match? I've noticed it doesn't add property or emails don't go out. So wondering if there's a glitch with Street Match. Well, Street Match, it depends how it's set up first and foremost. And it depends on where that person lives and how big that radius is. So when you think of it, the default radius is 200 meters. So that's relatively not very, like a huge area. So unless you're, in a very condensed, high turnover area, which everything is starting to pick up, but it's not a whole lot of activity like we're used to, it may not be that they're just not getting notifications because there hasn't been any new activity within that direct vicinity. But yes, Bruce, so with respect to those buyer leads, setting them up on Street Match, you definitely can. So if you are in here and you go to your account and you go to Street Match, you're basically just going to add a new person. And so the first thing you're going to do is either enter the name of that person. So if I was to type in, I'm going to type Brana in because I feel like there's less of her name in here. So it's actually going to give you a list of these people that are already contacts in your CRM system. Doesn't matter which website that they signed up on, they're already an existing lead. So you would select which one. If they don't show up in the list or they're not in your system yet, then you're going to enter it as a new lead. So for this one, I'm just going to select Brana. Now, when you have the step 1 of this, you have 3 options. One is a specific address, a specific condo building, or a radius. So when the user is on your website and they sign up, they only have the option of a radius. Okay, but you can actually change that, or when you're creating them up manually for somebody, you can do it with respect to a specific address. So the address would here be a street. So some of you all may, know in neighborhoods where you have one side of the street or one, neighboring street, the home values are completely different. than the street over, because maybe one is a little bit newer and the other neighborhood is older but with large yards, right? So they're going to be different. So that's where you might say, okay, only on this street. If a listing comes up for sale on this specific street in this city, that's when they get the notification. If they are in a specific condo building, then if they're a condo owner, then you would put the building address of any listing that comes on the market within that specific building, they're going to get it. And then you have the homes, you know, with the radius. So we'll just set this up for any of you there. Now, when you have this street match, what you're going to do is more or less, you got to put their property type in and their address, right? So let's just see if there's some sort of street. You know if that exists. So once you do that, you're going to be able to see that this is like Main Street, or the 123 Main Street. Now you would select which property types this person is going to get notified for. Now by default, it'll be one. And then when they're on the website itself, filling out that landing page, it's only going to be one property type. So what you do is you can hold control, and let's say I'm looking at detached or maybe links that may be going up for sale, wherever the links option is. Where's my link? There it is. So just hold control to be able to select multiple. You then have the option of adjusting the radius. So typically, you know, when we're doing our CMAs and things like that, closer to the home is better. You all know that. So they do have a range of options. These larger radiuses are more intended for people that live in rural areas that your neighbor isn't, you know, right next door. So you need to do a larger radius to be able to capture, you know, enough houses within that specific area to be able to kind of let that homeowner know what's going on around them. And then of course, these ones here, these were added for clients that we have. So if you guys are in Texas, you guys deal with a lot of ranches and things like that. And the same in Alberta, there's a lot of, you know, we had a client that he doesn't deal with someone that's 1,000 meters away. He deals with, you know, acres upon acres and hundreds of acres or thousands of acres. So the neighboring city isn't necessarily, or the neighbor isn't necessarily even 5 kilometers from them. They could be 10 or 20 kilometers away. So that's where you have that. And so once you've selected that, you're going to go next. Now, when you're setting this up, now depending on your board, we are definitely working on getting sold data for various boards. We do have the Toronto sold data right now. That's the only one that's fully released it to us, so to speak. But we are definitely looking into all those other options, you know, with respect to other boards that they have now released that information. So we are working on that. So if you are in Toronto, you will have the ability to select either new listings, sold listings only, or both new and sold listings. If you don't have sold information available for your feed yet, it is only going to say new listings. So what this does is anytime a new listing comes on the market, it's going to notify that seller, keeping them on top of that market and those homes that are going on the market that are likely to have some level of impact on their home value. If you have that sold information, all it does is just sends them an email when that property sells and they can see the sold price. So that's the biggest difference there. So I'm just going to collect new listings. Do you, the agent, want to get notified? So in most cases, no, you do not want to get notified, because if you have 50 people on this list, every time they're getting an email, you're getting an email. So it could get to the point where it's very redundant. You start ignoring it. So unless you have somebody that you're really kind of keeping an eye on their neighborhood for them, you're really nurturing and like taking care of that individual, then yes, notify yourself so you can kind of keep on top of that. But aside from that, you're going to select no. You don't want to get notified. Do you want to be notified if that person is selling? This is where you would select yes. So if that property goes on the market, that exact address that you've entered as their address gets listed, it will send you a notification. So yes, you would want to get notification when that happens. Do you want the lead to get notified? Well, yes, you would want to get the notifications for your lead. It's going to ask how frequently you want us to check for any new listings or sold information. And you can select daily, weekly, monthly. Most will select daily because it's not going to be every single day that a house goes on the market within that neighborhood, or even in that building. Maybe through like a prime season in a building, it'll be a little bit more frequent. But daily is probably your best option here. And then the time of day. So once that's all done, you're just going to close finish, and then you're going to close, and then you're going to refresh this page. Now, your newest people are going to be at the bottom, okay? So this is the oldest lead at the top, the newest one at the bottom. And so if you want to edit this, you're going to click on the address. And what's great, and I'm not sure why you can't do this on the main screen, but you can definitely do it once you edit, you can actually modify and move this. So you can see how this is moving over into that area. Which often could pose a different value of home on that side of the street. So you can actually move this over if you wanted to, or move it completely over here, that sort of thing. So you can play around with that once it's done. You would also have the option to monitor, like change this. So if you wanted to stop this, you just wanted to disable it, stop sending them that. If you wanted to change how they're receiving the listings, how you're getting notified, if they're getting notified, so on and so forth. So you can go through and modify that after the fact if you wanted to. So hopefully that helps anyone that is using the Street Match. Get those sellers on it. Like it puts your name in front of them over and over again. So Navita is asking, once somebody registers for Street Match, do they get sold listings or active listings in the area? Yes, so it's automatic. So if they sign up on your landing page, it is going to be automatic. You don't have to do anything. But I do encourage that you go in, see how they set it up. The most common thing that I will see is a homeowner will go in and they'll create like a massive radius as if they're looking to buy in their city. So they're almost setting it up like a buyer search instead of like what's going to benefit them as a homeowner. So that's where you may need to go in and just tweak that radius to bring it down. And of course, having a conversation with the seller. If they're looking for listings, then obviously having more criteria aside from just the property type is going to be super beneficial to them. So when somebody registers, they are automatically, I believe, and we can definitely test this out, to receive just the active listing. So let's try it out, just so that I know for 100% that I'm not fabricating anything to you. Okay, so we are going to go into sellers and we're going to go into Street Match. I got to create a fake lead here, just so that you guys know. Let's do this. And we will do, I would say this. So what people will do is they'll go like something like this or something like this, right? You know, that's not going to be very beneficial if they're planning to sell. So Street Match test. And 1, 2, 3. And this is where it's going to get tricky. Plus. Oh, it will not let me to do that. So. Pretty sure that's not somebody's email. All right, so now that's finished. When they register, they can actually view all the properties that are for sale in that area. But let's go into the CRM system and we'll see what happens. So there's our Street Match test. So it came in, so right away. And then we're going to go in here. I'm going to go home. I need to see all my Street Match people. And there's this one. So let's see what the other options are. So yes, so it's only setting them up for new listings only. You would manually go in and adjust that to include both new and sold or just sold in there. So hopefully that helps you out. So Bruce is asking, if a lead opens an email, does that show up as last time they were active, or last active means they were browsing the site? Bruce, good question. So there's a couple different ways a lead is active, and it depends on how and what they're actioning. So if you are looking at a lead gen lead, okay, so this is a lead that came in, those are basic leads. There isn't one. So they came in through the automatic listings and things like that. They have searches created for them. Even like this one here, this is a Facebook lead, but they're set up and they're receiving listings and emails through the automated platform, and the emails are being sent from this CRM system, not the legacy system. So if they're being sent emails from this system, whether it be listing emails, just regular direct emails, things like that, the activity will show when they've looked at a listing. So when they go and they look in the action and look at an actual property on that website, that's when they're going to become active. That's what they're going to show, their last activity in here. Now, if they're receiving emails from the legacy system, such as Street Match, their activity, or when it shows that they were active, that could mean that they just simply opened an email in there. So whether they actually looked at any listings or just happened to open an email, that it's going to action regardless of what they're doing. Now at import, it will also tell you, like here, for example, their last activity is basically when the lead also entered the system as well. So because I imported these leads 26 minutes ago, they're showing as being active 26 minutes ago. It wasn't because they actually did anything with the email or anything. It was because that was the lead at the time of, that's when the lead entered the system. So hopefully that helps. It's definitely confusing. The only emails 100% that I feel you should ever be sending from the legacy system is the Street Match one. If there's any buyer campaigns or anything, so when you open up a lead, you're going to have the option of assigning them to a legacy email. Or email campaign. Some of you, maybe not all of you, but you have these legacy ones. So unless you have to send them, so let's say you're not on the lead gen site, you're setting them on a prospect match or just listings. Those are exact same thing, just worded differently. Those are listings. You have to send them. If you're not on the automated platform, you have to send them through, it comes through the legacy platform. Now, things like the buying lead campaign, for one, you don't have as much control over these campaigns as if they're built in this new system, but you don't also see if they're actually doing anything with those emails. So it's always just going to say sent in here. It's never going to actually tell you if it's delivered or if it's been opened or if they've clicked on it or any of that. It'll always just say sent. Even if you try to look at the legacy system, it'll always just say sent. So you don't really know unless they also become active if they're actually doing anything with your communications. So all those buying emails, so a lot of people want to recreate those there. You can recreate them. All the emails, if you're able to see that buying lead campaign, all the emails are going to be under the email section in the email templates. And for you to basically build your own campaign with them. Now, I also highly recommend that if you are using these campaigns, that you go in and you modify those emails, basically so that they sound like yourself, right? You know, I have a lot of people setting people up on campaigns, and they're like, okay, so where do I find this, you know, master list of da-da-da-da? There isn't one. Now you need to create one. Because they're setting someone up on a campaign without actually seeing what they're sending somebody. So 100%, it's going to sound more like yourself and how you would typically run your business than it's, you know, than having an automatic system that you're just assigning someone to and hoping for the best. If that makes sense to a lot of you, because it's time and time again that a lot of people do that. The legacy emails. So if you want to go in, so again, you're not going to use that. You're just going to go into the email section right here. So if you're wanting to edit those legacy, those ones there, they're in the email template section. And basically, you just go into the buyer's campaign that you're going to see in here. And these are all the emails, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can just go here on the right-hand side and click edit. Now, another thing, so when you are looking at this, these are, in this case, this is fine. It's working. But sometimes these short codes are old short codes, so they don't actually work. So you have to really verify that those short codes actually exist now. Otherwise, it's going to come up blank. It's going to say you're going to be receiving listings in city. It would literally say that to the person. It wouldn't actually replace it. So you can go in here and modify these. Obviously, the first email depends on if you're setting somebody up on this campaign manually. They didn't register to receive listings. You're putting them on a campaign to receive listings. So again, modifying that. So you can definitely, once you're in here, edit these. You can change the title. This is for your reference. So buyer's email 1, even if you wanted to keep it that way, you do that. You can also change the subject of the email that would actually be being sent to that individual as well. So you can go in there, modify all those categories, like all the templated emails in there to sound more like something that you would actually communicate with your database and sound more real and less automated, more or less. And then once you've edited those emails, you would go into your campaign template editor and build out your campaign from there using those emails. So it's really straightforward. Again, you guys, you do have in your system this handy dandy little question mark here. At the top, there's a ton of videos. So these videos change reflective of where you're currently situated in the system. So right now I am in the email settings section. So all of these videos are having to do with this section alone. So if you want to, add or edit an email template, your email signature, things like that, it's all here. So it's always changing reflective of what screen you're currently looking at while you're in the system. So hopefully that will help a bunch of you guys kind of troubleshoot with that. Once you start building a campaign, they're super easy to do. Now, I think I've answered everyone's question. Was there anything else? We've got a few minutes before we have to go here. Was there anything else with respect to the system that you're not sure on how to do or anything before we go? Very welcome. And just want to make sure I didn't actually answer. Yes. Perfect. Well, I am going to do that, leave it at that. What I'm going to do is actually, first before I go, is I'm actually going to create a copy of this. So you guys all members of our Facebook group on the Agent Locator Facebook clients? Are you guys all on there? I know some people aren't always on there. Okay, if somebody isn't on the Facebook group, can you let me know? Because what I'll do is I'll put together a document on this. So I'll put it in the Google Docs. So similar to how I had done it for the COVID landing page, kind of like with examples and a video, and give you this so that you guys can actually use it as kind of like a starting point. So even if you have 2 files open, you're just copy, paste that column here, that sort of thing, so that it is in there. So I will put that in the Facebook group for our clients. So once it's all done, you get that, Crystal posted in the group. But if you need in the meantime or beforehand, or if any of you guys are on here that haven't had any training that want some training, just email me and I'll get you guys, either set up with this Excel sheet or set up with a trainer with one of our training sessions with one of our trainers. So it's Crystal, just like you would spell the gem, the crystal, the glass, at agentlocator.ca. But thanks everyone. I'm going to cut it from here. If you guys have any questions or need anything, by all means, just reach out. But thanks to you all for watching, and hope you took away something that you can utilize.